Starting?
Bob, hi, Mike.
Are we started? Holy cow, we're live.
Started. We are super live.
I was just getting ready to call in makeup.
We're still alive.
Late for that.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
A couple hours ago.
I thanked my wife this morning for not killing me last night while I slept.
That's always a bonus.
Always a bonus. Yeah.
Did she forget or what?
Yeah. Thankfully she's getting forgetful in her old age.
Rob, I need to apologize for that. I was supposed to send the reminder text to her, and I just completely spaced. I'm sorry. I really failed you.
It's okay. I'm happy with it. The results.
Well, now we get to listen to you, so that's fun.
Oh, yeah, great.
Well, Mike, Hall of Fame, I got to congratulate you. It was an absolute pleasure to be a part of that. It was amazing. Tell us about all of the hard work that goes into it and how it came out.
It's not hard work. It's fun. It's a, it gets a little crazy on the day that the banquet happens, but listen, I've always said I'll work as hard as anybody wants me to work to keep that banquet going, because the people who get into the Hall of Fame, the heroes, the living Hall of Famers who show up, they deserve a night like that. They deserve a night to have people stand up and applaud them. They deserve a night to be able to stand up and tell everybody about their lives and share information that nobody really knew before. I mean, it's a great night. I wish it was. I wish everybody could attend it. I mean, it was well attended, and it's always fun. But it's the video will be out in a couple of weeks. I'll put it on online so that you can check it out that way. But it was a great night. Jerry Bryseth. We did acceptance speech from Dennis Orcolo live stream from Manila, which was interesting. It was cool.
Good once it got started.
Yeah, once it got started. Well, the thing is that the live stream was actually good. It was only about a 5-second delay. What was delayed was I had my phone up there FaceTiming with him so he could see the audience. And the FaceTime was about a 1.5-minute delay.
Oh, wow.
How does that work?
So that's why Jay Helford, who introduced him, would say something, and about 2 minutes later, Dennis would smile and laugh and clap. But once he got to give his speech, it was great. It was really nice. I think it meant a lot to him to be able to speak to everybody live in the room and thank them and tell them how important it was to him. So it was a good, great evening all told. I was glad you were there.
Yeah, I was glad I was there too. It was it's kind of fun to see all of the pool players dressed up and in attendance. There was a lot of, especially the Europeans. I mean, there was a lot of European players that were there, dressed up nicely, looking good for the event. I thought it was awesome. What was your highlight of the event?
I think that I think Jerry's speech was great. I think everybody seeing Dennis was great. And just what you said is always the best part to me, is players in there, getting a bigger perspective on the size and the history of the sport and the heroes who came before them. And it gives them a little different look at the sports they play every day. They just go from tournament to tournament. So it just really gave them gives them a great perspective on it, and you can see the respect for each other in that room, and you can see their eyes light up and get a little bit wider when they see some of the guys from 30 years ago, photos and videos of guys from 50 years ago. That's all great stuff. That's the importance of it to me.
Hopefully, you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to switch over to this microphone.
Okay.
I think my favorite story of that was when Mark Wilson was introing
Jerry Bryseth. Yeah,
and Mark's been playing a little bit. He's an up and comer. He's really trying to get better at the game. He's soaking up everything, and he goes up to Jerry and just asks, big bright eye and bushy, just happy as can be for the opportunity to learn from Jerry, and says, "Jerry, what can I work on?" Jerry's like, "Well, all right. Well, why don't you hit a few balls for me?" He gets down and shoots one shot. Jerry comes over and stops him from shooting a second shot, and he's like, "All right, I think I know what I can help you with. This is what I need you to do." Mark's like, all excited. He's like, he's going to get the golden nugget on how to be a great pool player. And Jerry's like, "Kid, I need you to do something. I need you to take 2 weeks off. And when you come back, I need you to seriously contemplate quitting.
Yeah, it was good.
This is like Mark Wilson, like one of the most legendary players there is. It's like,
yeah, no, it was great. It was a good night. Everybody's speeches were great. So it was it was good job by all. Yeah.
yeah, that was a good one. That's what I really like. If I'm telling you, if you guys call yourself, fans of the game and you want to see the best for the game moving forward, go to the International Open and go to this banquet. It was honestly, it was like I won't miss one. They're absolutely amazing. This is one of the must go to things of this season every year. It's awesome.
But is it going to be at the International Open every year now? Because I know you did it at the
yeah,
Mosconi
we've done it there most years because it's a good time of year. They get a good audience there, good crowd there of fans who like to go to the banquet, and Pat's willing to shut down the tournament for 3 hours between 4:30 and 7:30 so we can have the banquet. There's not a lot of promoters that would do that. So I mean, something like the U.S. Open in Atlantic City would be great, but they're not shutting that down for 3 hours to allow us to have a banquet, right? The other option is, and I'm hoping to do this in 24, is Mosconi Cup in Vegas, because Mosconi Cup gets over at 4:00 in the afternoon. So that gives us the evening, and in 24, just kind of hedging my bets. I think Shane's a pretty safe, option for that year.
Is he not old enough in 23?
He'll be 40 in 23. You have to be 40 on January 1st. You have to be 40 when the year starts. So he'll turn 40 next year, which means he'll be eligible in 24. So that would be a lot of fun to have it out there, for his induction would be great. So we'll see if we can do that. Maybe line up another one of those like we did in 17, where we flew in all the living Hall of Famers and have a big party. So give us a couple of years to raise some money for that, and that would be terrific. We did it in 2017. There were 225, 230 people there. It was great.
I'm really hoping that Shane can add one or two more major titles to his resume so that I personally can justify voting for him. I'm not quite sure if he's done enough yet, but
yeah.
he might.
Well, hopefully he can beef up some of his resume between now and then.
Yeah, maybe he can get another title or two. Who knows?
Yeah.
He's close. He's real close. So you said raise some more funds. What does that entail? How does this?
That entails
Go ahead.
That entails me calling up industry people and begging for money, like I do on a monthly basis for advertising. So no, the industry's always great and always good behind, as long as I can put together a good budget on exactly what we need and tell the industry, partners, what it costs to put on this banquet and see if we can generate that kind of income. We'll put it on. I mean, this is not a profit making thing. It's just this is what it's going to cost. Are you, willing to help pony up? Someone mentioned, is there any way to watch the banquet? We taped the entire thing and it's being edited now. In a week or so, it'll be available, and we'll send it out to various, all the media members that we have as members of the association. We'll get a link to the video. And so you'll be able to see it streaming all over the place.
Sure. And if anybody out there is tuning in and wants to potentially get involved with helping any sort of fundraising, how do they do it?
Well, that I just have to. We'll put the word out in plenty of time when we start, raising funds for 24. If we're going to try to go big in 24 with a kind of a reunion banquet, people will know when it's time. Believe me, I won't leave too many stones unturned.
Sure. All right. Well, let's jump into this. Jim has to go do daddy duties. I guess his baby puked all over the place, but we got us through. Oh, and you know what? Perfect timing. We never liked Jim that much, anyways. Ray, what's going on, man?
Did Jim dump you? What happened?
Jim decided his baby's puking-a-thon was more important than us.
Well, it's valid.
I've heard worse excuses in the pool world.
Yeah, right.
Mike, I just want to let you know that the Hall of Fame banquet was pretty awesome. That was my second one. I hadn't gone to one in a long time, and it was pretty inspiring. Just kind of like going
Great.
through that and seeing the slideshows and stuff was really cool. So
Great. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for being there. And thanks for the kind words. We were just talking about that a little bit. We were talking about how it's kind of, I look at it as kind of this inspiring evening where people really, get their eyes open and the perspective of the history of the sport becomes, so much more evident to them, so much more important to them. So I'm glad you felt the same way.
yeah, it was fantastic. And it was nice to see somebody inducted as a coach as well.
Yeah.
I don't think we get lost in the players, but the mentorship that goes on behind the scenes for a lot of guys, it's there's usually 4 or 5 guys that somebody can hang their hat on, when they really climb the game. And so it's kind of cool to see Jerry in there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. He's the first instructor to get inducted and well deserving. So it was great.
How many years have you been writing about billiards?
Me?
Yeah.
42.
Nice.
Yeah. It's the only job I've ever had out of school.
Wow. That's great.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump in. Earl the Pearl Strickland rounds out Team USA.
Yeah.
Ray, you're last to the party, so you get to be first to the answering. What's your thoughts? I know you were kind of chasing this spot maybe yourself. What do you think?
I mean, if you're an American player, it's on your radar for sure, especially as you start kind of like getting into form and playing at that level. But just from my observations of Earl at the international, whenever his match was going on, regardless of what was going on the TV table, there was a crowd, and Earl has that star power. And I think one of the fun things about Earl being on the team is that he has this kind of factor of ignitability. You know what I mean? Like under that spotlight, under those conditions, Earl has the highest upswing value, I think, of any player for the United States. So if he happens to be in a position where he comes with a big shot, you know what I mean? Just jacks up, fires a ball in, and, gets position for his team or something and runs out. I mean, the momentum building ability of Earl playing in form is going to be huge. And with the crowd behind him, and I think this is true if it would have been here in the States or even last year in the UK, Earl is his own show, and the European fans would have loved to have seen him, which is why I think it would have been very special to see him last year also. But he's going to have the ability to neutralize a little bit of the European fans and put pressure on Team Europe, because all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, Earl's washed up, ha, ha, ha. But then, I mean, the guy is playing great. You know what I mean? He's in the gym every morning. When I was there at the international, part of my routine was getting on the treadmill for 45 minutes or an hour. Earl was right there with me, you know what I mean? Or I'd pass him, when I was leaving, he'd be walking in, that kind of stuff. So the guy's training, you know what I mean? Not just on the table. And he played great. I was surprised at how well he handled the break, because for me, that's been holding him back thing in the last couple years. But he was more productive on the break with the new format than I expected him to be. And he won some matches, you know what I mean, that were, in flux because he held his own break, with the new break format. So that's surprising and encouraging. So, and I think to Jeremy's point, Jeremy had mentioned yesterday about Earl being a really solid doubles partner. And when you look at the roster, him and Shane, him and Skylar, him and potentially somebody like Oscar or even Tyler, he could be a very, I know we think about it in the context of singles play, but, Earl can come with a shot and get you a shot, you know what I mean? And if he's there with his teammate and his teammate's performing well, I mean, he could be a really great doubles partner, even if it's just among those 3 players, Shane, Sky, and Earl. Those 3 can mix and match pretty great, you know what I mean? Because they have the most experience probably performing on the biggest stage with the most amount of pressure. So I think they're very complementary. And so I know everybody wants to sit here and talk about how Team Europe is dead stealing, but I mean, this is a very unique format with races to 5. And these are very highly qualified and competent players. And so to sit here and just say that Team Europe is dead stealing, on paper, that's great. But, you don't win these tournaments on paper. You win these tournaments with what happens in the box and on the rail. So I'm hoping Team USA comes out to a strong day 1. I think last year we had a very weak performance from Europe on day 1. Halfway through day 2, there was an opportunity there to put a lot of pressure on them. So, and they were maybe more of a favorite back then. So I think it's really about staying poised and staying present. If Earl can keep himself together and keep the game between his ears solid and tight, I think Team USA has a real shot. I think he's worth 2, maybe 3 points, and that's really all you need from him to be in contention to win the cup.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of day 2, as just to go to your point there, the U.S. was up 5-4 going into day 3. It wasn't really till day 3 where the
but they had a chance to be up 6-3. They had a chance to be up 6-3 and let Team Europe be stewing. Team Europe would have had a ton of pressure coming in on them, and Team USA would have been, starting to get real confident. Like, hey, wait a minute, we have a chance here to really sucker punch these guys. And so that big match, to end that day, Europe kind of got a roll in a sense. You know what I mean? That 6th ball gets missed, and then we had that time foul situation with Jeremy, but. All those things considering, especially with the last minute change at the end, Team USA was kind of on the back foot, and they would have had a chance to get settled and be like, hey, we're in this with a shout. So they're not going to go through that this year. And I think we got to give these guys a lot of credit for the kind of game that they can bring together.
Sure. All right, Rob, what's your thoughts on Earl?
Well, I was pretty excited about it when I heard. I liked that pick last year, and I felt terrible that he couldn't play last year. I was looking forward to it. I wanted to see him on that stage again. And I watched his play at the Open and the International, and it was very good. He was very solid. I think Earl brings something that not too many players have in this day and age, and that is a definite swagger to the game. I see a lot of the players have an approach that is markedly definitive and strict, and their strokes are slow and dedicated and long, and then you throw Earl in there, who just goes up there, strokes 3 times, and bangs the ball in the hole. That has a bit of intimidation built into it. When you see that, you see these players taking a lot of time and dedicating themselves to each shot, and then you see Earl get up there and just bang the balls in around the table. Like the old days, kind of 9-ball of the old way it was played. And I like that about Earl. And I saw him pound some balls in the side pocket at the International, where he 3-stroked them and pounded them in hard. And they were not easy shots. They were 50-degree angle shots or 60. And he hit them in with authority. And his position play, for the most part, was very accurate. I've always liked Earl's game. There's been some things, of course, about Earl's personality that he gets picked on a little bit for the way he is, the way he behaves on occasion. But his game definitely belongs on the big stage. I'm excited about it. And Nate, just to follow up with you next year, you said you're going to start going to the International. You're not going to be missing it much. If you want a ride-along roommate or partner for that trip next year, I'm going to raise my hand. I'd be on board with you for that. But yeah.
All right, so Rob is going to no longer be on the podcast going forward. That was funny, Rob. That was funny. Yeah, of course.
Nate's ride or die.
All right, Mike, what you think?
He's on the team, so whether I think he was the best pick for the team doesn't make any difference anymore. He did play really well in Norfolk. I thought that he, obviously he knew the pick hadn't been made yet, and it was really interesting to watch him on his best behavior, and knowing that he was still kind of auditioning to a certain extent, and he played some good matches. I was really. He played one match on TV on the main table against the Vietnamese kid, and to me, I thought, okay, this is sink or swim right here, because if he has a bad match and goes off the rails, starts barking at people in the crowd, and Jeremy's sitting up in the commentator's booth, I would have thought he's going to get the hook, but he hung in there. He didn't play the greatest match in the world. and there was a little adversity on the guy soft breaking, whatever. And Earl had his little chirps and whatever, but he held his head together and shot his way through the match. So that was the point where I thought, okay, he's on the team. I don't know if that was Jeremy's tipping point or not, but that's when I thought, okay, this is done. Earl's the guy, because
even his match that he got eliminated with against Jonas. I mean, he was leading in that match and was on the hill first, 9-8, and Jonas was, I guess, semifinalist. So Jonas had an incredible tournament, but it really was. It was double hill with Jonas, and I remember he had a long elevated shot on a 4-ball that he missed, that kind of gave Jonas an extra opportunity, and then it was kind of coin flip situation with Jonas breaking on the hill. But Jonas had an unbelievable tournament, and Earl, if he makes that 4-ball kind of long and elevated from the back rail, or whatever, then maybe it's Earl who makes it to the final 4. So I mean, he was right there playing with the guys that were playing outside of Federer and maybe Jayson, there was a big class of guys that were all playing, jam up pool that were really tight and grouped together, and Earl was hanging with them. So it's encouraging.
Sure
was. When I was watching, I jotted one name down. Out of all the players I watched in the tournament, I watched most of the matches that were televised, and I have a great big Soto on this piece of paper and an exclamation mark next to it about, was I impressed by any one particular play of any player in that tournament? I would say Jonas, yes. That he was, and he's young.
Jonas is a great player. He's a world champion. Jonas is a world
impressive.
champion.
I had never seen him play before, and I hadn't really heard him in conversations before all that much. But wow, I was taken by his play and how underneath the most intense moments, how strong he was, and how calm he was, and how accurate.
I think he internalized his first round loss to Carlo. He should have won that match, and it went double hill. He had a chance to win. He was up like 9-5 and kind of let the match slip away from him. Had a 6-ball double hill to win that he should have gotten out on and missed. And then after that, the resilience to kind of bounce back and make the long trek, you know what I mean? And winning match after match in close and tight situations, you really saw some maturity from him. And I think it's a good thing. Like the Spanish guys and the Polish guys, they kind of have their like model, you know what I mean, of following the lead guy and then like building on that, and they work together to kind of like build on their experiences. And Jonas is a great kid. Those Spanish guys are all super top-notch guys, and
his pure
really
pocketing skills really was something. I mean, you look at the pocketing skills of Shaw, Filler, Gorst. You can't deny they're right on the top. But after what I saw, I'm throwing him in that mix.
Well,
for the future.
Yeah, I mean, Jonas he's overshadowed a lot by Francisco Sanchez Ruiz and David Alcaide, and even to a lesser degree, Jose Alberto Delgado. But I mean, he's a world champion. In fact, I think he might be the only Spanish world champion in their history. I don't think Francisco won one as a junior. I could be wrong on that, but I mean, the kid's a world champion. He might be overshadowed, and you might not know who he is, but he's a great player. So Jim, it's almost fitting that you had to go clean up baby puke, and you're the last person to comment on.
Speaking of throwing up,
you know what it is with baby puke. A baby, when it throws up, it does come out with quite a force. The only thing you have to worry about is which direction do you face the baby in, because you can't stop it. There's nothing you can do. Just choose a good direction. My wife just chose probably the worst direction. If you were to take a 360 of the living room, there's one direction you just don't. But okay, fair enough. Well, what were you talking about? I guess you were talking about Jonas Suter
and Earl. Well, no, really, it started with Earl.
I'll get you the question here. Everybody who's tuning in, we got 70 people tuning in, watching. Please give the stream a share, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or maybe even Twitch. Wherever you're watching from, please give the stream a share. Help us get out there. Jim, we want to know your thoughts on Earl the Pearl Strickland being number 5.
Do you want my thoughts as a pool player, or do you want my thoughts as a fan?
Both. In that order.
My thoughts in that order. As a pool player, I have my. I think it's a bit unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the other for the other American players that really put the effort into travel and really went to all the tournaments. You can look at it on both sides of the coin, you know. The guys that did go and got themselves in places 4 and 5 on the ranking maybe feel a little bit hard done by, but they have been to all the tournaments and they have had the opportunity to do something a little bit more than what they did in order to show that they were ready to be in that arena, which they didn't really do. You know, being number 4 or number 5 in the American ranking didn't really take a lot this year. You didn't really have to do anything special, and other than Greg Hogue winning one event, which was probably, you know, all respect to Greg, it was the lower level of all the events that you could possibly win.
To be fair to Greg, if the money had been right with the Sandcastle, he'd be on the team.
He'd be on the team. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, is it the right pick? Yes, I think it probably is, but it's unfortunate for the other players. For me, I mean, I said. I'm not sure if I said it on the podcast or if it was something I posted on. I think it was on the podcast that Europe don't have to do anything special. They're pretty solid. America have to, you know, Jeremy and America, they have to take some risks. They have to think outside the box. They have to. It's almost like I don't know what it is you call it, the haymaker. You know, that last second touchdown pass for 90 yards. It's just all or nothing, just throwing it in the air and hoping somebody catches it and gets that last minute touchdown. I don't know what you call that.
Hail Mary. The Hail Mary.
Hail Mary, yes. It's basically America need a Hail Mary. And if you're going to throw a Hail Mary, who are you throwing? It's Earl you're throwing. Sure. Isn't it? He's the one guy that can pull it off. He's the one guy that's got that gear. But on the other hand, it could easily be, very, very much incomplete or intercepted, whatever you want to say. Well, that's it. If you've got to go all in, you go all in with Earl, don't you? I mean, they're not going to get it done. They're not going to, or I don't imagine they would get it done with anybody else. I don't see any of the other players that just missed out as making that big of a difference that it would mean the difference between winning and losing the Mosconi Cup. Earl does have that. Yeah.
I think as far as like the outlook, as the other guys didn't get picked, right? For both teams, Team Europe and Team USA, you know, when you get to the nitty gritty as far as the Mosconi Cup stuff, there's gonna be some play here and there as to what happened. So if you on that voyage to try and a team, you got to almost expect that you're gonna have 1 or 2 years where, you know, you could have been picked and didn't. Like I remember Torsten winning World 9-Ball Championship or something and then not getting picked, you know, a certain year. And, you know, this kind of stuff's going to happen. Federer having the unbelievable year that he had. I mean, he's supposed to be a deadlock on every Mosconi Cup team for the history of time with the year that he had, and then he didn't get picked. So, you know, if you don't make it on the points, at that point, you're kind of leaving it up to chance and to the winds of the day, and you got to just roll with it, whatever happens. But, yeah, I think to your point, Earl gives. I think the biggest thing is synergy and synergy with your best player. I think Earl and Shane play really well together in doubles, and Shane has quite a lot of respect for Earl. So as far as team dynamics go, he's less likely to feel like he's dragging someone along, you know what I mean, who's as decorated as Earl, because he looks up to Earl, you know what I mean, and has a lot of respect for Earl's pedigree and his history and what he's done to the game. So in that sense, especially with the top three, him, Shane, and Skylar, there's a lot of equivalency and like firepower and synergy. And I think that really is what goes the furthest, you know, because you can't have 4 or 5 individuals out there. And that's one of the things that, you know, even though Europe tends to have like a very friendly camaraderie and teamscape with them, my concern with just putting together 5 great players is that teamwork, that synergy aspect. So that really comes down to leadership and interpersonal dynamics. So I think that's when you get to the game behind the game. And I don't think it's as far off as, you know, people think, you know, seeing Team USA. Obviously the Fargos are one thing, but if you look at what the handicap is between like a 820 and a 770 or something, you know what I mean? It's what, a game on the wire race to 5, if that. And we're talking about a game on the wire in a short race to 5, which could be a break and scratch. You know what I mean? So I think it really comes down to how the team gels, how they work together, and how those pairings. I think the doubles is going to be very big. Team USA has historically done better in doubles, I believe, and the singles, especially recently, has favored Team Europe. But we'll see. We have the
other way
world,
around.
right? Exactly, and we have the world 9-ball champion, the reigning world 9-ball champion, and Skylar has played the Mosconi Cup. He's played probably the best high gear of anybody. Jayson Shaw last year had a pretty strong Mosconi Cup and all-time performance, but I mean, that year that Skylar won the back-to-back MVP was unbelievable. So, the potential is really there. And Oscar slots in, you know what I mean? He was what, second in points? But man, he's such a team guy, super low key and really knowledgeable, kicking and safety and managing the cue ball and stuff, and has a ton of experience and not afraid to mix it up and gamble with whomever wants to come and play. So I don't know. You know what I mean? I know people I look at like the parity amongst those guys, and then Tyler might have the best break on the team right now in this format. He was at the international. His break was unbelievable. And he had a really incredible TV table match. I think he shot like a 960 AccuStat on the TV table, and his break was a joke. So, yeah, I mean, I think Team USA is going to give him help, but
I could think of one.
Stay biased.
I could think of one better Hail Mary that would have potentially been picked, and not many people are naming this player, but I think he deserves a shout out. I think Frodo Gord would have been a great Hail Mary.
Listen, you can say what you want about crowd interaction and stuff like that, but if that ever turned up at a Mosconi Cup, trust me. That hair and that beard, no way. But it's right what you're saying. I mean, it is. I mean, the race is to 5. A lot of them are going to be a lottery. The thing is that it all comes down to momentum, and it just feels like there's more chance that Europe get on a roll because they don't seem to have any holes in their team. You would say that there's more chance that maybe one or two of the Americans don't have a good Mosconi Cup. You never know which one it's going to be. But they're just not as consistent. The chance that they're going to build up that momentum as easily as perhaps that European team would, and that if they do build up, you see Europe breaking that momentum quicker than you would see USA. USA really need the right players to be in the right matches at the right time when the score is at the correct score. A lot of things have to go correct for them. Europe is. I think it's just easier for Europe to get out of a hole, and it's easier for Europe to get ahead. So the first day is going to be massive. I think we can pretty much guarantee that we know what the first match is going to be. Well, the team match, but after that, I think it's definitely going to be the Spaniards against whoever Jeremy decides to put up against them. I don't see Alex picking anyone else other than that. And we know, as a European team, we know that basically match number 5 is going to be Shane's singles. It's been Shane's singles for 14 years. Why would it not be Shane's single match this time? So, Alex has got a choice there. Who does he put out there? I like Filler for that personally.
Yeah, he's always going to throw a Filler in that spot. I think you probably see Shane and Skylar go out as
well. They put Albin up. They put Albin out there last year, and it didn't really work.
No.
It's yeah. Or the year before.
I thought it was real telling about the emotions that players hold in when they're in a match, and in the finals, it was a big deal at the end. I thought you see these players competing at the highest level. Victor and Jayson in the finals. It was a great match, and they're controlled throughout the whole match. They're controlling their emotions. They're controlling their attitude. And then when the match is over, you saw how much emotion Jayson was holding in during that match. Because at the end, when it came out, he just let it go. Come on, man. And he was just taken by that emotion and just let it all go for a good 2 or 3 minutes. He was, there it is. It's all out there. So I thought that was interesting because all that emotion is inside these players while they're playing.
Yeah. It's a lot.
They got to keep it under control until it's over.
And it's funny because we're seeing more and more guys be open about the challenges that they face, you know, trying to compete at this level, the amount of expectation and pressures on them, especially because financially the reward isn't there compared to other sports, you know, like golf or tennis. So when they do finally crack through, it gives them a little leeway, you know what I mean, to get to the next event and to weather those lulls. And so you've seen guys like Jayson, who just snapped off the international, openly talk about struggling with the idea for a while. You know what I mean? And it's no doubt or question why they kind of like, you know, share those emotions at the end of big events like that. 'Cause it means it's literally life and death sometimes for them when it comes to their game. You know, they keep this dream alive. And I think a lot of people deal with that. I've had conversations with players who are, you know, transitioning from, you know, that top tier amateur into semi-pro, regional pro, into top flight professional. That transition is the longest, the hardest, the most expensive, and the one with the least amount of returns. And you have to be willing to suffer those slings and arrows of going after it and learning and suffering the cost of what it takes to put yourself out there, to put in the time and effort to compete without that reward, and know that the reward on the other side, the proving it to yourself, will be worth it. And so even guys like Jayson, who we wouldn't, you know, we would just assume like is super confident all the time, struggles with the ideas of confidence, you know, because we view him as such a confident player. But it's a constant battle, you know what I mean? And so these guys are working hard and doing a very difficult thing and not getting compensated anywhere near enough, you know, for the amount of effort and toil that takes, you know, takes a lot of sacrifice and effort to get to that place, to them where we can talk about them and say that they won. So I'm happy for Jayson because he's really put in, you know, he's dedicated his life. He's one of those few guys that have just committed to that, and kind of will just swallow all the crap to make it work. So, you know, you're happy.
He was inspiring with his play for sure.
Oh man, yeah, he played great, and he was breaking with his playing cue. So there you go.
A lot of people are doing that now. You don't need a break. It's a shot now. It's not a break. It's a shot.
Sure.
You know,
Wicker played good too. I mean, wow.
But the thing with Jayson is, Jason's had times where he's just not been playing well. You know, and then he's getting knocked out of tournaments. Well, not necessarily early. He gets through a lot of matches just purely on the power game he has. But he knows he's not really playing very well. This season, he feels like he's been playing really, really well, and he's just been in every tournament. He just seems to be coming up with somebody who just plays half an hour, 45 minutes of just perfect pool against him, and he's thinking, I'm playing great, and I'm not getting to the table. I'm not getting my chances. You know, he's getting beaten 7-0 at the World Cup of Pool. He's not getting. He's had one shot. You know, He's gone against Levan Cortese. He's played the best match of his life against him, and there. And Jason's just sitting there. He's had a skid and he's lost the match. You know, he's thinking these things are happening to him, and he's playing well. And I think that emotion that you saw, or a lot of that emotion you saw there, was basically saying, finally, you know, somebody just didn't shoot the best match of their life against me, and now I win the tournament. You know, and it's just that. Because I keep saying to him, and people keep saying, a lot of people are saying he's playing badly. He's had a bad year. Maybe he hasn't had the results that you would expect from a Jayson Shaw. He hasn't snapped off until now one of the big ones. But he's playing great pool. You know, when he's winning matches, you saw what he did to Shane. He duffed Shane up pretty heavily, you know. And he's playing well. But he's just, for some reason, he's coming up against these guys that just...
Well, they know how good he plays. So, you know, he earned that.
And he's playing there and he's thinking, how am I getting beat? How am I getting beat here? I'm playing really, I'm not making any mistakes, you know, and I'm getting crushed by a guy who's just playing the best match of his life. And then he's the International Open. I've got to say, obviously, I think the International Open seems to be one of these tournaments that he feels very comfortable at, same as Turning Stone. He seems to perform his best there. And this time of year, you know, he gets ready for Mosconi, I think. And, you know, that game against Shane really helped him out, kind of thing. A big, hard, gritty fight playing with that break. And he always does well at the International. You know, I think he's won it a couple of times now. He won the US Open the last year that it was there as the US Open. You know, so out of the last 4 years, he's won it 3 times or something like that. You know, so he's been getting deep the other times anyway. So he always performs well. He's always ready this time of year. You know, which you know, Alex will be delighted. European fans are delighted, and he's going to try and be the first ever 3-peat MVP, I believe.
Mike, what's your thoughts?
Oh, not bad, really. I mean, you know, it's all the comments about Jayson, Earl, pretty much, you know, the atmosphere. It's all pretty spot on. Don't really have a lot to add at this point.
What do you think, Nate, about Earl? that as a pick? You haven't given your opinion yet.
Well,
I'll put you on the spot here a little bit.
am I
Basically,
talking as a player or am I talking as a fan?
Well, you're not a player, are you?
Jim will also no longer be
Nice
on the
one,
podcast
Jimmy.
going forward. All right. I mean, I think he'll blow up. I mean, at some point in time, I think he'll have a blow up. Will that tank the team? I don't think so. I think all the players. I mean, I think this is going to be the hardest year that Jeremy Jones, I believe, has ever had to go into his coaching with. I mean, and that is with a COVID year where, you know, they're basically in a bubble. And then another year where he literally has to go in and play at the last second because Earl can't play. I still think this is going to be his hardest coaching year yet. And it's because not only do you have to get the players ready for on the table, you have to get the players individually ready for the potential of what might happen if things don't go Earl's way and he has a blow up. Will he be able to do that? I would like to think that he can, but you know, we've seen Shane be disengaged, right? We've seen what he looked like on day 4 last year. He didn't want it. It looked like he didn't want to be out there. It looked like he was over the event. What happens if Earl throws a blow up and, you know, let's say the US comes out and they lose 4-1 on the first day, or maybe even 5-0 on the first day, and Earl has a blow up. What are we going to see out of Shane the next day? You know, Sky's always been that rock for the U.S. where he's always ready to go. He always wants to get out there and battle. I don't think we have to worry about him at all, but, you know, could something happen with...
I think we only see Earl once. I think we only see Earl once on day 1. It'll be a doubles match with Shane. I think that'll be Earl's only game on day 1, I think. Jeremy will also want him there. I mean, I want to ask, listen, the last time he played was 2013. There was a reasonable crowd there, but the rest of them were all in the 2000s and 1990s, where he was going to York Hall and he was playing in front of a couple of hundred fans. Okay, they made a decent atmosphere, but it was nothing like it is now. So Earl, I'm wondering, what do you guys say? This is going to be something completely different for Earl. You talk about all the experience he's got. He's never played in front of 3,000.
Well, to be honest with you,
the atmosphere that's going to be there this year. Imagine if he'd been there last year when there was never a moment of silence. There was a continuous noise in the arena.
Well, and that's what I was going to get at. That might be a good thing, because if you look at a lot of Earl's blowups in the last few years, a lot of his blowups have come from like really small individual things where you have one person in the crowd taking a sip of their beer, or one person in the crowd kind of laughing, thinking that they're laughing at him. I mean, if you have that much noise, maybe that's a good thing for him. Maybe there's so much ambiance in the room that he can't actually focus on anything individually, and he can't get set off by anything individually.
Can I add something? I think whenever you start talking about player responses or how players are going to handle and deal with stuff that we see during the Cup, all that stuff, as far as leadership goes, as far as the team dynamics stuff goes, all that has to be addressed way in advance. Like, you guys have to get together and talk about what you don't want to see as a teammate and what you expect and the standard that you're going to hold before you get out to the table. If you wait till it happens on the table, then by then it's too late and you're just at the mercy and whim of whatever emotionally happens there. So you guys got to decide in advance how we're going to, as a team, handle this, what we're going to tolerate and what we're not going to tolerate. And you figure that out beforehand so that you have those uncomfortable conversations and you have an expectation about how they're going to be addressed when the day comes. Because if you wait till the day comes and you're uncertain about it and then something happens, then I have a different expectation of what somebody else has, and it's going to mean something different. And that's what causes the fracturing, and that's what causes disengagement. That's what causes problems. So all this stuff about, you know, how we're like, all that stuff's got to be squashed amongst the guys beforehand. And you create a rubric. This is what we're going to tolerate. This is what we're going to accept. And if you don't do that, I'm going to take you in the back. We're going to have a conversation. You know what I mean? But like, that's what team sports is about. You know, Michael Jordan used to always talk about, I make my practices harder than the games. And if it means I have to punch Steve Kerr in the eye to get him to us have mutual respect and realize we're on the same team, we have the same mission, and I'm not going to quit on you or get upset or whatever because that derails you, then I'll swallow that part. And I won't default what I do, but I'll do with what benefits and suits the team. That's how team sports are played. So I hope, my only hope is that the guys will, if there's a conversation to be had about any kind of thing that's leadership oriented, it happens in the locker room before you get out on the felt, and there's 3,000 screaming fans, because by then it's too late. So that's where you iron that stuff out, and then whatever we see on the felt is what was tolerated and accepted for on the back end. You understand?
Sure. I think Jeremy will handle that pretty well.
Yeah, I hope so, because he's going to have to, because like you said perfectly there, if it's not handled ahead of time, it's possible you could end up seeing some disengagement out of some of the players. I don't think you're ever going to see that from Sky. I don't think you're ever going to see that from Tyler, but it's been a while since we've seen Oscar out there, and we've seen just in the last year that Shane has become disinterested in the event, part of the way through it.
Yeah, I think Jeremy and Earl have some history together, don't they? Playing history together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to hurt the whole effort at all.
But I do think, I guess in hindsight, just to close up what I think about it, I think it's going to be fantastically entertaining. Do I think the U.S. has a chance? Yeah, it's a race to 5, whatever. Am I thinking that they're going to be huge favorites? No, they're going to come in as the underdogs, but it's a race to 5. And, we saw last year with what I think on at least a weaker team as far as not being prepared. This is a stronger team than last year. And they were, basically a missed 5 ball away from going into day 3 up 6-3.
Right.
Why can't the U.S. come out strong out of day 1 with an engaged Shane and Tyler? And to be honest, I think that Earl's going to be a great spark plug for if and when he has that blow up. Up until that point, I think the players are going to love playing with him. I think the players are going to love rallying around him and being a part of a team with Earl Strickland. I think it'll be great until if and when that big blow up happens. And
I'll tell you what, if Earl sinks the winning 9 ball for Team USA, I'm going to personally put on a Baldo costume with fireworks and send them flying inside the bodies. I'll be there, and I'll be waving an American flag and bottle rockets and Roman candles, and we're going to be just cracking open cans with Pabst Blue Ribbon because America, baby. Let's go.
You know what? And I will grab you. We will jump over the barrier, and we will be the first 2 players on that pool table.
I do not care. I will swallow my dignity for America.
And Jim will be over in the corner crying.
Yeah, I know he will.
Into a beer bottle.
He'll be screaming and hollering.
Listen, I am. Oh, fuck off. I'm a good winner and I'm a good loser. I will listen. America wins. The first person at the bar buying you boys a drink will be me.
That's that. Now I know you're lying. You haven't bought a drink in your life.
Wow.
Hey. Oh.
How did you know? You're asleep after the first one.
Yeah.
Nothing would make me happier. Nothing would make me happier than watching Earl make the winning 9 ball, and like all the naysayers and detractors. There's a lot of trash talking on social about American players. I would love nothing more than to have like Goliath just get downed, and it's Earl that just like sends the final stone. You know what I mean? It'd just be so poetic and beautiful. It'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be great.
It
Well,
sure
I know
would be something, wouldn't it?
Jimmy made a couple comments on Facebook last week and one, he says, I just can't wait for this. I just can't wait. And I loved that comment. I went, no, I can't either. I just can't wait for Mosconi. I'm on the edge of my seat.
It's going to be awesome.
I will say this, Earl being on the team, I know I've been talking against it for quite a while. And then the last podcast, I kind of was like, all right, yeah, pick Earl. I'm excited to see it. This might be the last time we ever get to see Earl. And
I say that every time. He says it every time as well. I remember when he had his interview at the Masters with Kachi, and he said, "Yeah, you'll probably never see me on a Matchroom event again." And then he's been invited back to 2 Mosconi. He's going to keep going until he's 80, until the young American players
He's Tom Brady.
Out their ass and start practicing properly and becoming proper players. Then Earl's going to keep getting invited back because he's Earl.
He's Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly. The guy's what a guy. What a guy.
Well, I will say this. He hasn't been invited back to an invite-only tournament. Mike, you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, Earl, last time Earl played Mosconi was 13, and everybody then, Matchroom included, swore it would be the last time he'd be on a USA team. And he wasn't on Matchroom tournaments for a long time, and then did get invited back in the last year or so. But, yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of his swan song. Even if he won and made the match-winning 9 ball, I think it's time to kind of move on. But now that he's been picked, yeah, I'm excited to go see what he does, see how he plays, see how the crowd responds to him. You know, he'll have a bunch of people backing him, and he'll have a bunch of people bashing him, and you know, what Raymond said was spot on. I mean, a lot of it's gonna be up to Jeremy and the team and how they sort through things before they get out into the arena, and how they handle things when they get back into the practice room after things don't go really well, because that's usually when, you know, the seeds of discontent are sown. So, you know, it's going to be a big thing. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Shane handles it, because Shane's a big Earl guy, always has been. And maybe Shane feeling like he's got to, you know, be there for Earl, wet nurse him, whatever, you know, maybe that helps Shane stay more engaged, where he can't just check out because Earl will be in his face. So it's, you know, it's going to be interesting.
And I do got to say this. I gotta call you out, Jim, because you said that you are a good winner, whether you win or whether you lose. This is Jim's face after the U.S. goes up 1-0 last year.
Let's see it.
Oh, don't worry about that. It gets better. This is Jim's face after the U.S. goes up 2-0 last year.
I don't even
Gone.
see me there.
He's gone. He just leaves.
So you don't have one you don't have one when we lifted the cup, no?
No, I lost.
No, you didn't have one of them. No, yeah. The camera stopped working. Battery was dead. Yeah, I didn't get that one. Yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah.
That second one was me at the bar getting you a drink.
You know, to be honest, it probably was. But this one, I really like this one, Jim. This is like right after they make the winning 9-ball to go up 1-0, and Jim just like, what is going on?
Who's the fella in the dark glasses there, Jimmy?
That's my Mosconi brother from another mother, Lee. And you can see Darren Appleton in the background there. That ugly face you can't miss that.
Yeah, that looks like a coffee cup. What's that all about?
Yeah, he pretends he's drinking coffee.
Yeah.
And this is my personal favorite one. I probably shouldn't even show this one, but this is Jim trying to hit someone.
Oh yeah, I punched that back and got 229.
He's keeping his action.
And almost broke my arm.
Your bag punching Fargo is 229, Jim.
Yeah, that's about all I can get. I don't think I reached my Fargo hitting that bag.
I have.
You have, but that's because your Fargo's like 500.
You hit my Fargo playing that thing. All right, all in good fun. All right, let's I guess, do we have anything? Obviously, we're 3 weeks away from the Mosconi Cup. We're going to talk about it a bunch more. Is there anything else we want to discuss right now? Anybody have any thoughts?
On Mosconi, no, but I mean, International was a pretty good tournament.
Yep, let's move over to that.
There was some good performances there. Wasn't an American in the top 16, which wasn't, you know, what I was looking for. But a lot of great matches. Super field. I mean, really strong field.
Tough.
It was great to watch. It's always a great tournament. Jayson was killer. Victor was, Victor did a lot of the dirty work for Jayson there.
That's right.
He sure did.
He did a lot of the dirty work.
Thanks for taking out all the monsters.
That's right.
Well, he did. He played just those last few matches he played were just superb.
Yeah.
It was so fun to watch that kind of play. And
you gotta like it.
They have to bring all their shots early in the games. You know, it's just not break and run out. It's break and do everything you need to do in pool. Use all your tools. I just love that.
Yeah.
And Victor was on my list, I think, for like guys that were going to come out this year before Francisco really solidified his consistent, like Victor was the guy that I was looking at to potentially make a Team Europe because he's just playing so great, and it was good for him to validate himself.
Yeah,
he's not going to be far away this year. He's not going to be far away this year. But
you can't claim him. He's one of my players. Jim has his own players where he just picks every winner that wins every week and says that's my player. But Victor is one of my players. I already called dibs on him. You can back off.
Hold on a minute. Your player was Oliver. You claimed that Oliver would be a world champion within the next 2 or 3 years.
Nate leads
my 4 players.
Now you've got 4 players. Oh, can I have 4 players as well?
You have 4 players.
You do every time we have a tournament.
You have 4 players, you idiot.
You're
I do have
usually,
four players,
you're
and they
usually
keep-
Federer,
and they-
Filler.
and they keep winning everything. They keep winning everything. Yeah.
My players are Aloysius Yap, Wojtek Shevchuk, Victor Zielinski, and Oliver. I said that those are my like up and coming players that are going to be like really, really, really top tier pretty soon. And you pick the players that are already there that just win every tournament because they win a tournament, and then you pick them and say, "Oh, that was my player."
I'll tell you what, Chris Melling at the U.S. Open looked really, really good. Really good for not having played like a big 9-ball event in a while. Like Chris looks really, really
He's
good.
that type of streak player. If he gets kind of on a roll and gets that rhythm going, that he can just plow through some matches really, really fast.
He looked great.
It's just a tournament, a big tournament like the US. That's a long grind for a player like Chris.
Yeah, it is, and
he's not really, in my opinion, tournament fit, and you see it quite a lot. He'll get on these runs, like you said. He's a street player. He's got a gear that's as high as anybody's when he gets going. He's got the sweetest stroke. He hits the ball as good as anybody in the game. But it is a grind for him, and he is going to put in one subpar performance. Yeah, I'm not saying that that's what happened in the match that he lost, but he almost does run out of gas a little bit. These are a long grind for him. He's not match fit really, Chris, when it comes to these big tournaments, and he hasn't been for a couple of years really.
And again, I don't know if you knew this story, Jim, but I told it on the podcast. To be fair to Chris, his match was scheduled for 4:30 at the U.S. Open, and it was scheduled at 4:30. That's what it was listed as, and they changed it to 4. And he didn't find out about that change until like 3:54, and he was like, he said he was about to get into the shower, take a little, relaxation shower before his match, and then head down 15 minutes before and shoot some balls. And he gets a call right as he's getting into the shower saying, "You need to be here in 3 minutes. Why aren't you here yet?" Because they changed it without telling him. So, I mean, to be fair to him, I mean, maybe he had a bad match because he just ran out of energy, and maybe he had a bad match because 3 minutes before.
Yeah, he was on tilt. He was on tilt for sure. I mean, Max also played great. It's not like he needed very much. Like both guys were. I mean, there was the semifinals or quarterfinals or semis. They were right there. So.
I mean, going on tilt is also a sign that you're just not quite mentally fit. You're unable to reset and get back in. It's too easy for you to get onto the negative side and for your mind to let your mind go, kind of thing. And it's all part of the staying sharp and staying match fit. But Travis Wilson, just to reply to him, the open hand bridge for Chris. There's a lot of players that are starting to use the open hand bridge because, like we said before, it's a shot now. It's not a break, really. So there's no need to close your bridge up if you're not going for power. It's more accuracy, catching the right spot on the 1 ball and getting the right juice onto the cue ball to bring it back back onto the 9 again to get the 9 moving.
Kachi had a really great firm break in this format at the U.S. Open. So it was nice to see the different styles. And Kachi he crushed. I think it was like 3 matches in a row. One guy goes up on the TV table, wins 10-2. The next guy goes up, wins 10-0. And then the other guy goes up, wins 10-1. And the other guy goes up and wins 10-0. So each one was asking the other to hold their beer, But Kachi was breaking them harder than the other players and getting really productive. So it's interesting to see.
Shane's always going to go for that power break because he has it and he feels secure with it. The players that do have that power break, but it's maybe just not quite as accurate, and they're more likely to lose a cue ball. If they don't have to use it, they're not going to use it. That's why a lot of them are using their playing cues, or they're using, like I do. I use my break cue, but I put my 314 shaft onto my break cue to break with that. Just because you don't need to be ramming it, so you're not going to damage your tip, and you just want to have that extra control in the cue ball.
I got a question for Jimmy and Raymond. You guys are both players. And you mentioned a little bit ago about negativity entering into your head. Now, this is the mind game, the brain game, a pool. Do either of you, and this question is for both of you, have any particular way that you channel that? Because there's negativity in pool, whether you're watching your opponent run out every rack or maybe getting a good roll here or there. And do you have any tricks internally that you do to handle that and take that negative energy and get rid of it?
I keep a little DeLorean in my pool case, a little like miniature time machine model. And I say that because, I was talking to a good player about the situation. They're like, well, do you have a time machine in your pocket? They asked me, do you have a time machine in your pocket? I'm like, no, I don't. Why do you ask? And they said, well, why are you wasting time on something that you can't go back and fix? And being able to just let that go and being emotionally distant from those things are super, super important, especially when, a match is culminating or you're just trying to stabilize. You get off to a choppy start, you get a bad kiss, and you scratch, and your opponent gets a lucky roll the next game, and then he breaks and runs, and now you dwell on the fact that you got a bad kiss to put you in the side. You feel it's not my fault. You get into this victim mentality thing, and it's easy to spiral. So that when you get to your next inning, if you're not present and you're stuck on the fact that you got a bad kiss, and that's your frame of mind when you get ball in hand, you have to make a tough shot, and then you get, heaven forbid, you don't get perfect. Now what's going to happen? The likelihood of you spiraling is very serious. So I think a lot of that is done in advance. You have to be working regularly on being present and working that muscle of just being in the moment as often as possible. If you can make a habit of that, I've been doing a lot of mindfulness meditation practice over the last few months, and that helps a lot because it helps me recenter, and it's just like a daily habitual, exercise that I get to, and it helps me to stay grounded. So I think finding the things that work for you to reframe positively and to stay present and to just at least let go is huge, because then you give yourself the best chance to move forward positively. I actually have to jump out, guys. I have a work thing I got to get to, so I'm gonna hop out. But it was nice chatting with you.
See you, Raymond.
Yeah, thanks, Raymond.
Thanks for the input, Raymond.
My pleasure.
Okay, Jimmy, how about you? How do you deal with that? The mental aspect of the game.
I'll tell you how you should deal with it. How it should be dealt
Okay.
with. It should be dealt with beforehand. If you are in a match and you're feeling negative, a lot of that comes from knowing that you're not really prepared. If you know you're prepared and you're ready for that match, then if you just get an unlucky scratch or your opponent gets a fluke or whatever, you still feel like you can balance that, you can fade it because you're ready. You're ready for this match. You're prepared. You've done all the work you need to do to give yourself the best chance to win this match. So it's a lot easier to get over that because if you know yourself, you're not really ready. You haven't put the work in the last couple of weeks, kind of thing. You decided to have a couple of beers the night before, and you've got a 9 o'clock match in the morning, but you didn't go to bed when you probably should have. You stayed up and had a couple of beers. Then you start to think about those things. Crap, I should have gone to bed last night, and I stayed up too late, and why did I have to have that other beer? And now this guy's getting lucky, and now I'm under pressure, and I should be winning this match. You didn't give yourself the best chance to win. You didn't give yourself the best chance to perform to the best of your ability, which means you're now in a situation that you shouldn't be in. So it's kind of, most of the time, it's kind of your own fault.
I'm very glad that you just started this off by saying that I'll tell you what I should do, because You've obviously never done any of those things.
Because I've been in these positions. I've been in these positions many times. I'm playing a 9 o'clock match, and I'm playing against a guy the night before. I'm thinking, oh, that's a good one for me. I'll win that match. I'll have a couple of beers. You get up in the morning, he gets a couple of lucky rolls at the beginning of the match. You're under pressure early on. You're thinking, Jesus, I'm not actually feeling great. I had a couple of beers last night. I probably shouldn't have done that. And now I'm in a hole. It's most of the time, if you're feeling good, you can fade these little negativities. If I'm in that situation, a lot of the time, I will just, when my opponent's at the table, I don't want to see what's going on. I'm one of those guys that I'll find something else to look at. I'll find something else to concentrate on until I see him walking away from the table, and hoping that he's walking away, leaving me a shot, kind of thing. I don't want to see things happening. If I feel like he's getting lucky and he's getting nudges, I don't want to see him getting them. I don't want to see him get another one, because all of a sudden a nudge that's not really a lucky nudge for you because you're feeling negative, you see it as a lucky nudge. Oh, that could have gone wrong. I can't believe he got away with that, but you don't want to see it because you just dig the hole deeper for yourself. So I'll just look away, watch something else until it's my go. Basically.
So mostly preparation then for the match you're going into.
Preparation is
or the tournament, whole tournament.
Confidence. Preparation is your mental stability. Preparation is knowing that you're ready to go out there and perform your best. Mosconi Cup, for example, Alex Lely can't tell the guys how to play pool. Jeremy Jones can't tell these guys how to play pool. All he can do is put them in the best frame of mind and in the best position to perform the best of their ability for that particular 4 days. That's all he can do, and he can give them the advice and tell them, you should do this, you should do that, you should, get to bed at this time, let's get up, let's get fit, let's get, have a productive day kind of thing, and make sure that as soon as from match one on that team match, when they walk out there as a team, that he can turn around to himself and to them and say, we have done everything we possibly can to make sure that you're ready to perform the best you can for these 4 days. If you can say that, then you've done all you can, basically.
Sure. So let's talk about the low-hanging fruit, since we're starting to run a little long. The poetic justice of the Bigfoot 10 ball. And of course it's irrelevant. We know this.
10 ball.
Mike starts. Mike, what do you think?
10 ball, I mean, when Jayson Shaw was talking to the Pro Billiard Tour guys for an interview, they were talking about the $1 billion lottery. Jayson said he would just start his own tour and it would have tons of money in it. And it would be 10 ball and the 10-footer. So, because he thinks that's the best game and the toughest thing for guys playing. So, discounting 10 ball because it doesn't go into 9 ball rankings doesn't really, run with me as far as who's a good pool player. I thought, Federer, it was funny. I mean, it was just comically ironic that he played 4 matches and it was against 4 guys from Team Europe. That was just hysterical. And he I don't know if he had a chip on his shoulder, but he certainly, because Federer's pretty dialed into any match he plays in, so it's not like he really needs a lot of extra incentive. He likes money, but he was on cruise control during that 10 ball event. That's for sure. He was just solid as a rock, and it was fun because it made for 5 straight days of hysterical memes and posters on social media. It was just hysterical. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. And he made a good run in 9 ball as well. Yeah. So yeah, it was funny.
I guess for the full context, Fedor was not picked for the final spot. It was David Al-Qaidi. Well, of course, David Al-Qaidi versus Fedor Gorst in the first match. Fedor wins 11-1, I believe. The next match, ironically, was another member of the Team Mosconi Cup on Europe, Albin Ocean. Fedor then won that 11-3, 11-5, something like that. And then he plays Jayson Shaw, wins 11-3, 11-5, something like that. And then he plays the final against Josh Filler and wins 11-7, 11 something like that. So takes out 4 of the 5. And then, of course, the funniest meme I think I saw the entire time was like the marked safe. And it was like a picture of Francisco Sanchez Ruiz marked safe from
because he didn't play
Fedor Gorst, because he never had to play him. So
yeah.
It's just Francisco Sanchez Ruiz marked safe from the Fedor.
Yeah.
All right, Jim,
everybody had fun with it. Everybody had fun with it, which was great for Federer. He just likes to win matches and win money.
Come on, Jim, go ahead.
I want to say a couple of things. First of all, I want to say that we keep talking about David Al-Qaeda I don't, but other people keep talking about Federer getting David Al-Qaeda getting picked over Federer. He also got, because people think Federer deserved it, he also got picked over Mario Hay, who probably feels like he deserved it more than David. He also got picked over Alex Kazakis, who would have a right to say that he deserved it more than David.
Right.
He also got picked over Max Lechner, who was 1 match away from earning it by right, who probably feels like... So this whole thing has become Federer-David. I don't think that's really fair on a number of people, You can say people can say that Federer deserved it because he's the best player in the world. At the moment, I can't argue with that. I can't say he's not the best player in the world. He's doing everything he needs to do, and it's fine. But when we talk about deserved, there's going to be a few players out there that are not getting mentioned who probably feel that they deserve that spot as well. David got it because of the whole circumstances around everything that's been going on. Now, to say that people sit out there saying that Federer didn't get in because he wasn't available to be picked or whatever you want to call it, you would still say that then Mario would deserve it based on ranking more than David Al-Qaeda. You would say that Max would deserve it on ranking more than David. You would say Alex Kazakis has the experience, he's played there, he would deserve it more. So to say it's all just about David getting it's he was picked over a number of players because of FSR and because of what he did last year and because of all that around it. So he can also be picked above Federer for those reasons as well, in my opinion. Now, yes, the 10 ball was fun to watch. I loved all the stuff going on social media. I was trying to bounce back with people that were putting the memes on and stuff like that, but I couldn't keep up with it. There was a new one every 20 minutes. It was insane.
Yeah, it was
must have been a group of people just at home just going, more memes, what have you got? And then just throwing them out on Facebook. It was highly entertaining. I thought he played fantastic. I really did. I thought he was great. But the same people who are on Facebook saying, he's proven that he's better than these players in Team Europe because he's beaten them in this 10-ball event. 2 weeks previous, were saying, yes, but Jayson Shaw will never beat Shane Van Boening 120-80 playing 10-ball. He's won that because it's 9-ball. So let's not say 1 week that 10-ball makes a difference between winning and losing, and the next week it doesn't make the difference between winning and losing. It's still 2 different games. If you've got a monster break, you've got an advantage, which Federer has. He's got one of the best, probably, if not the best 10-ball break in the world. It's insane, the control he has on that thing. But can't take away from what he did was amazing. He didn't just beat these guys, he completely annihilated them. What was it in the end? Yeah. 44-19?
Something like that, yeah. One thing I will say, though, Jim, is that I think a lot of people talked about David getting picked over Federer because it was pretty apparent, and I think in mostly what Alex said, too, that the last 2 were Federer and David. The other 2 may have been in consideration, and they certainly earned points more than David did. But when it was down to the final picks, it was pretty much between Federer and Alex.
But that was only said and made public when you did the interview with Alex, which was this whole Federer thing had been going on for weeks beforehand. It must be Federer. It has to be Federer. The Sword brothers were just trolling everybody on the internet.
There's some self-interest there.
Of course there is. That's it. I get it. That's your boy. That's your. He's your horse. But
it's like you.
It's been interesting. It's these Mosconis. They need a background story, and this one's got 2 now. With Earl getting in as well, and Gorski.
Yeah, that's great.
FSR must be feeling great, because as a rookie, you're thinking there's going to be a lot of heat on me. There's going to be a lot of stuff on social media, people asking questions. He's sitting there going, everybody's leaving me alone. This is fantastic because all they want to talk about is Federer and David.
They're waiting until day 1 for the ambush.
But hey, I'm getting all these things.
Let him get as comfortable as he wants.
Yeah, but that's it. All these posts come out. Every time David misses a ball, we're going to be shouting, Federer. You think this guy's not capable of going 4 days without missing a ball? Of course he is. And you'll be sitting there going, wish he'd missed one. I wish he'd missed one. I want to shout Federer.
I think they'll probably just yell Federer every time anyone misses
exactly. Every time anyone misses a ball.
Which I think there's a pretty good chance will happen sometime in the 4 days.
It's fine. We've got something for all 5 of your players. If they want to do a Federer chant, we've got something for all 5 of your players. There's no problem. No problem.
I got nothing. I know that the first shot that David misses, the entire crowd is going to scream, Federer would have made it.
That's all right. Yeah.
Oh, no.
And depend on who it's against, that'll get back. Johnny's got your money, for instance. That might be shouted a couple of times.
Johnny's got your money.
You think that's going to bother Oscar or make him play better? I think it makes him play better.
Do you think shouting Federer's going to bother David? I don't think so either. But it's funny, and it'll be, we'll go back and forward. It's nice that the USA have got something else to shout other than USA. Because that's been it for 30 years.
It is.
Johnny's have something new, don't you? Johnny's got your money.
Yeah, exactly. Should have picked Margaret.
Awesome. I'll tell you what. What's your guys' thoughts? If Federer's obviously applying for U.S. citizenship, do you think that
we're not really talking about this seriously, are we?
I just want to know, yes or no. Do you think Federer will ever play for Team USA, Mike? Yes or no?
I have no idea. I mean, that's so far down the road, and so. It just, it was kind of even when I posted, it was kind of a joke kind of thing. But, could he end up living in the U.S.? I would think he probably will, just because he's comfortable here. And I don't think he's got any big hankering to go back home. So will he end up living in the U.S.? Probably. Does he end up playing for USA? I would doubt it, and I don't think it's anything that really is. It's a long, long way down the road before it even comes into, being something that would be an option.
Well, it's a 5-year process anyway, isn't it?
2028, I think, would be if he starts the process.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, about that.
So he's got a lot of Mosconi Cups in between that he's not going to turn around and say, I'm not playing.
Right.
I mean, he won't be able to play next year because of his green card. From what I've heard, he has to stay in the US, so he won't be allowed to travel.
Traveling next year. I mean, he
won't be in the
possibly get an
European team.
extension. So
possibly for But you would imagine it'll be 2024. But we see. I don't see him. I mean, to be honest, if he plays in just half the Mosconi Cups for Europe, then he still gets the same amount of money as playing in all the Mosconi Cups with the USA. So,
I'll tell you.
Is that a math thing?
Interesting, Jimmy.
See, I've got a math degree.
Is that a math thing?
Mike's got his calculator out. Hold on a second.
I don't know. I'll tell you what.
Calculator. I'm like this under the table. Carry the one.
I'll tell you what. If you have a core of Sky, Shane, and Fedor, with the juniors that we have coming through,
Fedor never plays for America. Listen. By the time Fedor never plays for America, there's more chance of you guys getting Canada and becoming North America than there is of Fedor.
That's interesting.
Mike, by the time that Fedor even would play for America, we'd have some juniors coming up that would be.
Yeah,
we're talking about Joey Tate, Landon.
Shane would be long retired by then.
No, it's 3 years.
5 years.
Yeah. Why not North America instead of USA?
You don't think if Joey Tate, Landon Hollinsworth, Sam Henderson, players like that keep progressing, that it's going to take them 5 years to get to that level?
No, it's going to take 5 years for Fedor to be on the team.
Shane won't play.
Okay, I thought you guys said it was like 3 years.
Yeah.
No, total of 6.
But anyways.
Sure. Well, that's all I got to talk about. Anybody else have anything they want to discuss?
Not me. I'm good.
Where's Molina Mike taking us for dinner?
In-N-Out Burger, I think.
I could rack up $100 tab at In-N-Out. That's fine.
Give me 6 double-doubles.
You could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to 3 weeks.
The captain's in the house.
We'll give a shout out to Jeremy Jones. Go Astros.
Go Astros, yes.
Baseball's so like last week, Jeremy. Come on. It's like football.
Don't worry, I got your back. Jeremy. We'll keep Mike out of this.
Home team, Nate. Yeah.
Well, don't get Nate talking about football because then he's got to talk about the 2-6 Green Bay Packers.
Oh no, we don't want to talk about that.
What do I care? I'm not a Packer fan. I've never been a Packer fan.
Good for you.
I'm not a Packer fan.
Football isn't really football anyhow. Soccer with a different shaped ball.
Well, football. It's football.
It's not Russian, mate. Fuck's sake. Football. Football. You use your foot to kick a ball. Not football. Not throw egg throw handball that you play. Egg ball throw.
And yet you're using Hail Mary analogies.
I thought it was a good analogy. You know,
it would have been a good one if you had any idea what you were talking about.
Earl's a Hail Mary.
He's just trying to relate to the Americans on the watching.
We had to make half the analogy for you because you had no idea what you're talking about. It's like you talking about pool.
Are we finished now, are we?
It sounded surprisingly real.
I think that's pretty much a wrap.
Yeah.
Wrap.
We are going to try to get Jeremy Jones on pretty soon.
Yes. Bring your cues to Vegas.
Please.
You've got the 8.
We are going to have hopefully we're going to be having Alex Laley on next week, and hopefully we get Jeremy Jones on. I'll reach out to Jeremy. Hopefully we'll get him on maybe the coming week as well, maybe towards the tail end of this week. We'll see.
Come on, Jeremy. Come on.
Can you get Earl on?
Oh God, yes.
as long as you're not around, maybe we have an outside chance.
Exactly. How about you go ahead and ask him, Mike?
No, pass.
Yeah, you got his number, don't you? Right?
I do.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll leave it at that. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks Ray, who's not here anymore, but thanks everybody for tuning in. And again, Mike, great work with the Hall of Fame. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
2024 Vegas. Get me a ticket.
Vegas 2024 Hall of Fame banquet.
You heard it here first.